Hello everybody, my name is Quaidson, and welcome. Uh, Before we jump in, I just want to start this off by saying I have been playing the Chivalry beta basically non-stop. The open beta for Chivalry 2 has been consuming my life, and I have played all the classes, some definitely more than others, and I managed just in this weekend to get to global rank 30. If you have been playing the game, you know that's probably ridiculous, and I have no life, and I'm a crazy person. You'd be right. But I wanted to make this little video to help people that are new to the game, that aren't sure, maybe they're not as good, maybe they want to pick something that's maybe easier. I'm going to talk about some of the classes that are easier than others, some of the classes that excel, with a little more skill, and overall just laying out what I think the best and worst classes are and why. This might be a long video. There's not many classes. There's only 12 subclasses total, 3 per main class, and there's only 4 classes, so um, I'm just going to jump right into it. With our first class here, we have the Officer, and we are actually starting off very strong. The Officer is a contender for best class in the game. You have very good ranged weapons. While the longsword is a little underpowered as far as damage, it has pretty damn good range, and you also get 4 throwing knives per life that you can restock. And throwing knives in general don't do a whole lot of damage compared to other throwing weapons, but the fact that you get 4 of them, and being at night and having a hard knights are in general are slower. They're the slowest class in the game. They get outsped even by archers, so you'll have a hard time chasing people down if they're low. They might just try to run away from you. Having those knives is nice, but the best part about the Officer is that you have access to the trumpet, the horn. And for those who don't know, the horn actually heals everyone around you. And yourself. It acts as a healing. You just toot, and boom, everyone in your vicinity is healed, which is really strong. Like, you can just pop a horn when you're losing a fight and everyone's really low, and everyone will just heal up while they block. Everyone will just heal up. It'll actually revive people who are downed. It is crazy powerful. Easily the best ability in the game, in my opinion. And that's why I believe the Officer is going to top the list immediately. Next up is the Guardian. The Guardian, I will say, is one of the easier classes if you're looking to get into this game. The Guardian is a very good choice. I'm actually going to put the Guardian in A tier. Knights in general are just very good. So you have a lot of health, and you can soak a lot of hits, and soaking hits charges your ability when you're a knight. And the Guardian, you get less range because you have a one-handed weapon, but you also get a big tower shield, which you can use to block arrows. You're pretty slow, and your ability is not quite as good as the horn. You get Banner, and Banner works like it heals as well, but it just heals people around where you set the banner. It heals a lot slower, though, and it can be destroyed. The best use of the banner is when you need to protect your king. Having a lot of guardians around that point is crazy. It's so good. The biggest part, the thing I would say is the biggest thing affecting the guardian, outside of not having as good of an ability or as good of range, but you make up for the range with the fact that you have a shield. You can close space a lot easier. Although people can really just back away from your attacks, and you can't really do anything about that because you're so slow as a knight. But don't get me wrong, this class is still amazing and really easy to pick up. The thing really holding the Guardian back, though, is you get hot pocketed a lot. You get fire tossed on you a lot. and your shield doesn't help you at all, so that can be a problem. But to make up for that, classes with shields are the only ones that can block arrows. Normally you can't block arrows. You can block throwing weapons with your sword, or whatever weapon you're using, but arrows become a problem if you don't have a shield. The Guardian doesn't struggle with that. It's just, you gotta watch out for classes that have Hot Pocket. Um, but overall, amazing class. I know I said a lot of negatives about it, but it really is a great class, and I recommend it, especially if you're starting off. You're going to want to level up your officer really quickly so you can unlock the Guardian. It'll help you win fights, trust me. Because, especially with having a shield, getting kicked isn't such a bad idea, so, like, isn't so bad, so you can just block forever. It's really nice. Your shield can break, I will warn you. Your shield does break after a while, but that takes a really long time. And by the time your shield's broken, you'll probably have killed another Guardian. Then you can just take his shield, so... yeah, there you go. Up next, we have the Crusader. And as far as knights go, the Crusader is easily the worst. I'm actually going to put the Crusader in C tier. So it's not bottom of the barrel. It's still a knight, and knights are good. The thing is, knights are really tanky, so it's nice to have banner or horn as that healing item, and they're going to be on your front line, so they're going to be with a lot of people too. The Crusader's ability is the Hot Pocket, the oil pot. I will be referring to it as the Hot Pocket, but yes, it's like a Molotov. It's like you just throw fire. Firebomb. So, that's not as good, and honestly, as far as weapons go, it doesn't have a lot extra it can offer outside of what the officer does, as far as range or anything like that. You might have a little bit more range. I haven't played the Crusader a whole lot. I haven't really... I don't know, I just don't really think it's a very good class. I think it... I can't super justify using it over the officer. Maybe in certain team deathmatch situations, or maybe on defense. Hot Pocket is typically better on defense than on offense, because you can use it to close off doorways. But there is another class that is much better that uses Hot Pocket as well, and I recommend at that point just going with that. It's you don't get a whole lot for playing the class, but at the same time, it's still a knight. It's still good. You've still got good range, and Hot Pocket is good. It's just not as good as Banner or Horn, especially on a knight. So, don't get me wrong. You can still play Crusader, and you can go ham. You can absolutely destroy. But I think if you want to have a more team supportive role, I would go with the officer. That's my personal opinion. That's my belief. It comes down to preference, but this is what I think is better and worse. So yeah, up next we have the Devastator. I have played the Devastator a lot. The Devastator has a lot of exclusive weapons, and I'm actually going to put the Devastator in B tier for a couple reasons. So the Devastator is actually the class I spoke of that has a Hot Pocket, but just kind of a better user of it. The Devastator gets throwing mallets, which do a lot more than throwing knives, but you only get 2, as opposed to the officer getting 4 throwing knives. You get 2 mallets. The mallets do a lot, though. Seriously a lot. And you get a little pocket knife, like a little knife as your sidearm. And to be honest, it's not that good of a weapon. You can just throw it as well. So, you have a lot of throwing damage, and you have the Hot Pocket you can throw. And for some reason, the Devastator just has a shitload of exclusive weapons that are just, like, for it. It's the only class that can use the Greatsword, which has, like, the longest range in the game. Seriously, you can just swing that thing and mash LMB, and you will do well. It attacks slowly, but and you can't really counter with it because it's too long of range, so you kind of just have to back off, like keep backing up and swinging, um, and just mix up your swings and stabs as much as possible, and you will do well with this thing. Um, it also, once you get your Vanguard to level 15, you have access to the Maul, which has like the highest damage per hit in the game. Seriously, like an overhead does 90 with this thing. And for reference, an archer has 90 health, so an overhead one-shots. And Vanguards also have access to a sprint attack when they're at full speed running, that you can press Q and you have an attack, and landing those charges your ability. So if you can run around with a Maul and just one-shot archers with your sprint attack with a Maul, and you just charge your Hot Pocket for days, sorry, you can really do some work, and it's good team coverage, especially on defense. If you're just devastating their backline, like all their archers are just getting wrecked by you, and then it comes to a point where you die and respawn, and you like have your Hot Pocket up, you can just chuck it in a doorway and cut off that entrance point for a solid amount of time, and you'll charge it really quick. So yeah, I do actually recommend this class more so than the Crusader if you want to play Hot Pocket. But up next, we have what I believe to be the best class in the game, the Raider. Um, the Raider, much like the Officer, is the only. These are the only two classes in the game that have the Horn, and the Horn, much like I said earlier, is what I consider to be the best ability in the game. Now, the Officer is great. Don't get me wrong; they're both in this tier for a reason. I think the Raider edges it out a little bit, and I will tell you why. The Raider is the only class that gets two two-handed weapons. Two-handed weapons do a lot of damage when thrown. If you can land your first Danax, and then you get a second Danax to finish it, anything you look at will die. Archers can get one-tapped by the Danax. And hell, I think even Vanguards can get one-tapped if it's a headshot. It is ridiculous. And even if they don't get head-tapped, you have a second two-handed weapon. You are fully equipped. You can also run the Messer, the Kriegmesser, or whatever, as your second two-handed weapon. That sword has crazy high damage. And it's also on the Crusader if you're interested in that, but like, this thing is amazing. It is the backline terrorizer. It is by far the best class for free-for-alls. If you're looking to play free-for-alls, you can just chuck Danaxes forever, and you can continuously pick up two-handed weapons and just have two on you at all times for one to throw. Because two-handed weapons do way more when thrown than one-handed weapons. So having two at your disposal is never bad, and you have the pocket, like you have the sidearm knife that you can also throw if you so desire. And honestly, that's it. Like, you don't have a whole lot in your kit. You don't have things like throwing mallets or throwing knives or Hot Pocket or anything like that. It's just you have Horn and you have two-handed weapons, and that's all you need. That's seriously it. On top of that, you're also Vanguard, so you're the fastest class in the game, and you have an equation for terrorizing the back lines. Or the front lines. You know? You can just chuck an axe into your front line, and you'll get kills. You can farm kills. You can continuously pick up weapons off of bodies and farm kills just by throwing them. It is insane. But that said, I will stop loving the Raider so much. It has by far been my favorite class to play, along with the Devastator. But up next we have the Ambusher. And unlike its Vanguard brethren, I do not have many great things to say about the Ambusher. And I gave it a solid try. Believe me, I did. Excuse me. The Ambusher is the only Vanguard class that uses one-handed weapons. And on top of that, so let me just lay out what you have. You have two one-handed weapons, no shield, but you get 7 throwing knives. 7 throwing knives is appealing, but the problem with this class is your ability is Quiver. Quiver is an ability given to the skirmisher. It refreshes your throwing knives. Why? Why do you need this ability for a melee class? I can understand it on the skirmisher. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. It's hard talking a lot. I can understand it on the skirmisher. Your whole thing is throwing things. Now, Quiver does charge pretty damn fast, but I'm going to put the Ambusher in D tier. Now, I believe the Ambusher also has a special perk or something where it does like extra damage from behind. But ask anyone who's ever played this game, if you get to someone from behind, you kind of just win anyway. You should at least. Sorry, oh my goodness. But yeah, you should just win anyway, especially with a one-handed weapon that you can swing so quickly. So that perk is so unnecessary. And honestly, Quiver just isn't that good of an ability. If this thing had Horn, it would probably be good. That's what it comes down to. But even then, it wouldn't be as good as the Raider. Throwing knives just like isn't. It's not as good as just having one Danax to throw, and then a second Danax to swing. And plus, Quiver is also useless because there's restocking bins everywhere that you can just refill your knives anyway. So having that ability isn't that useful, especially when you have 7 knives, which is more than you'd ever need. I don't recommend playing this class. It's the last Vanguard class you unlock. Same with the Crusader, it's the last Knight class you unlock, and it's not worth playing. I'm sorry, it's just not. So next up, we have the Footmen. This is the class of Footmen, and there are 3 subclasses. And we're starting off with actually the best of the Footmen, in my opinion, the Poleman. Now, all 3 of the Footmen have the same ability, and it's the Medkit. And to be honest with you, the Medkit is a trash ability. However, the Poleman has excellent access to some of the longest range weapons in the game. I've personally been a huge fan of the pole hammer, and the Footmen also have access to a sprint attack, kind of like the Vanguards, but the Vanguards are more of like a slash that just does a lot of damage. But the Poleman in particular has access to like a running like stab joust attack. And that can do upwards of like I've seen it do like 108 damage or something ridiculous. And so that plus like 1 overhead swing just kills a knight, and it's great. They also have access to spike traps if that's appealing to you. They're just little spike traps you get set down, and people will walk into them. Hopefully, mostly your teammates. It always feels like, but you can use them to block off staircases or doorways or whatever. They're not very good, but to be fair, there's nothing bad about just having it extra. You know, it's just something else to have. Again, all the Footmen have the Medkit. It's basically just you throw it at somebody. You pick one person, you can heal that person. It'll basically heal them to full. It's like you use a horn, but only on one person. It's not very good, but it's nice. You can have 2 of them on you at once, and you can use it on yourself if you used up your bandage already. So, what I find the Poleman is best at is just following a knight. Follow a knight and just spam stab behind him, and that'll get you early kills. Like, if you're learning to play, this will be a class that you start with, and I recommend using it. Honestly, I do. I believe this is the best of all three footmen, and it's solely for your weapons. And up next, we actually have the Man-at-Arms, which is a good class, actually. I'm actually going to put it just here below the Devastator. The Man-at-Arms it's a pretty good class. You get a shield, and I like to consider the Man-at-Arms the Archer Slayer, because you can walk towards an archer just with shield held up, and the archer's just like, oh shit, gotta switch to my secondary. An archer on their secondary is still not threatening to you, especially when you've got a shield, and it's still at full health, because arrows don't do shield damage. You just gotta make sure you don't use up all your stamina before getting there, and a man-at-arms can shred an archer. But what I find the man-at-arms is actually best at, and this is not joking, doing objectives that require you to carry a torch of some kind to throw and burn something. A man-at-arms is great at that, because unlike the Guardian, they actually have really good speed, or not as fast as Vanguards, but pretty solid speed. So having a class that's dedicated to one-handed weapons, you can hold your weapon and fight at full power. You won't have your shield, but you can still block with it, and you can still carry the torch all that time. So you can fight your way if you need to fight your way to there's several maps too where you burn stuff. There's on Coxwell, Slaughter of Coxwell, you have to burn the houses. On Dark Forest, you have to burn a barricade, and I believe it's the Siege of Rudhelm. You have to burn tents or something. I'm pretty sure those are the three. But if you get to those points and you want to play the objective, I recommend switching to a man-at-arms, actually. I do. I don't play man-at-arms pretty much otherwise, but that's what I switch to him for. But you get a lot of really good one-handed weapons. I'm pretty sure there's some exclusive that the Guardian doesn't have. I've been using the Morningstar, I believe. It's pretty damn good. But yeah, I recommend playing this class. It's also a fun class to play. Having a shield just means you're less afraid of archers, and if archers really get on your nerves, I recommend playing Guardian or Man-at-Arms. That's as simple as that. And last we have what I believe to be the worst of the footmen, and one of the worst classes in the game, the Field Engineer. So the Field Engineer is just a weird class. I'm actually going to put it in D tier. The Field Engineer has access to Bear Trap, which is better than Spike Trap. It's harder to see on the ground. You kind of have to pay attention, especially if you put it down in the grass. You have access to Bear Trap, and you also have little walls that you can put up. Little shield walls that you can set down to block off areas. Here is my problem with the Field Engineer. For one, those shield walls suck. You can break them in one hit. It's not worth playing. They can be helpful to stall you for a little bit, stall for a little bit of time, but they're gonna get broken really quickly, and there went your whole plan. You can actually choose between Spike Trap or Bear Trap, and the Spike Trap will give you just an extra wall you can put down, but I recommend choosing the Bear Trap because it's honestly harder to see and it does a little bit more damage. You kind of have to be really dumb to walk into the Spike Trap, whereas if the Bear Trap gets you, it's oh shit, I didn't see that there. And it can help you out when you're if you're manning the catapult or something, and someone walks into your Bear Trap, you can be oh god, I just got random 50 damage, I'm gonna get off this catapult and go look, yep, someone's in my Bear Trap. And it stalls people for a little bit more time. The other problem, though, with the Field Engineer is your weapons are terrible. Terrible. Among the worst in the game. You have a little sledgehammer, you have a shovel, or a pickaxe. You don't have, real weapons, you have little tools. And they're just really not that good. Like, to be honest with you, you have no reach with any of them. The shovel has the best reach, I'm pretty sure, and it's like not even that good. It's like less than like the Dane axe, I'm pretty sure. It's not a good weapon, and its damage is mediocre. You just don't win fights. Like, you have to be really good to win fights, even against an archer, I feel like. I have not played this class much, and I have been perfectly fine with that situation, because this is not a good class. I will straight up say it. It's just not good. I recommend the Ambusher more so, and I despise the Ambusher. There's no reason to play the Ambusher, but there's less of a reason to play the Field Engineer. I just don't understand why this class is in the game. It can be useful a little bit for defense, 100% useless on offense. And on top of that, you still just have that stupid little medkit. Maybe if you had Horn, there would be some form of reason. Still just a medkit. Trash character. And I have purposely saved the archers for last. And there's a reason for that. The reason is that no one really cares about archers. So if you're done watching the video, thank you for watching. If you like to see which archer is best suited for you, stick around. So first we have the longbowman, and I actually believe this to be the best of the archers. I'm going to put him in B tier. That's right, the best of the archers is going in B tier. It's honestly because archers just aren't that good. I'll say it. They're annoying, and everyone will complain in the chat, oh my god, archers are so lame. If you play an archer, you have no honor. I don't super enjoy playing archer, but I did for a long time. I played all of the classes in the game. I wanted to unlock all of the classes in the game. So to do that, I had to play the longbowman at some point. And it's fun for like 2 lives, and then you get bored and you want to play the actual game, which is hand-to-hand combat and having fun and blocking attacks. The archer's ability is exclusive to it. It's called Brazier, and it's like a little fire thing you set down, and you can set your arrows afire and shoot people with fire arrows instead of regular arrows. In my experience, though, it doesn't increase the damage very much. It's not that great. And it's only on this archer. So, you know. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. You just shoot. I'll talk more about the longbowmen once we get into the crossbowmen a little bit, because I'm going to explain the differences a little bit. The first difference is that the longbowman is much better, in my opinion. I actually believe the crossbowman to be about there on the tier list. And I'll go into why. The crossbow does more damage than the longbow. The crossbow does about 65 to 90 damage depending on headshot or not. I think you can do, it's like 65 to 98 or something around there. The longbow does like 45 to 60 or whatever. So, while that's kind of appealing, you have less shots with the crossbow. You get 15 instead of 20, and you also have like terrible fire rate. Terrible. Like if someone's running at you as a bowman, you can be like, oh shit, fire some arrows, fire some arrows, fire some. Okay, now I'm switching my weapon. If someone starts like zigzagging you as a crossbowman, and you don't have an arrow already, like a bolt already loaded, you just gotta instantly switch. You don't have a chance to try to fire arrows or anything, because you have to like bend over and reload it and then look up, and it's like, it's just not good. The only appeal to the crossbowman is that you get banner, and banner's great. Don't get me wrong, I love me some banner. Just play the guardian. Like you don't need both. You don't need both. Because the thing is, you really only need like one banner in your backline. Something for people to run back to with their tail between their legs. They're like, I've got no bandage. I need healing or something. They'll run and they'll see your banner and they'll be like, yes, thank you, Valhalla. And by Valhalla, I mean this one crossbowman in the back line. You need one. And honestly, a defender could put it there. Because honestly, that's what usually ends up happening anyway. A defender puts down a banner and you push past it, and then there's a banner in your back line. Because many people play defender, very few play long or crossbow. And it's also really hard to play crossbow, I found out. It's like way harder than archer, like regular longbowmen. So if you can do it well, props to you. But stop wasting your time, honestly. Just play something else. Not field engineer. Or ambusher, honestly. I recommend the crossbow more than the ambusher, but I still think the ambusher is a little better. I'll give it a little bit more credit. And finally, we have the skirmisher, the forgotten class. And I call it that because it's the last archer you unlock, and a lot of people do not bother playing their archer to level 7 just to unlock this thing. I'm a crazy person. I did it. I did it, and I had a, you know what? This is where the skirmisher goes. But if you're talking like how fun the characters are to play, skirmisher goes around here. Okay, I had a lot of fun with the skirmisher. I don't care what people say. I was gonna say, why did that like appear? It's because I got rid of the last thing. The skirmisher was a lot of fun. So I will say it's not as good as the longbowman by any stretch of the imagination. The skirmisher, instead of getting a bow or a crossbow, you have a shield, a very small shield, and javelins. And the javelins do like 80 plus damage. Like, they do a lot. But you only get 5 of them, so you gotta use them wisely. However, the skirmisher has the unique advantage of being able to do hand-to-hand combat without switching off of their, like, bow. You can just stab with your javelin, and you have a little shield, which actually, you can replace your small shield. Like, if a guardian dies, you can just pick up their shield. Or there's guardian shields, like, on the maps that you can just pick up. So if you find one of those, that's amazing. And, basically the strat is, you have 5 javelins, you want to keep one on you at all times. There's 2 exceptions to that rule. 3, I'll say there's 3 exceptions to the rule. The third one I just added was, if you're really desperate and someone's running at you, and you just don't want to fight them hand to hand, that one doesn't really count. The 2 other circumstances where I could consider it's worth it for you to throw your javelin. Your last one, I should say. You're right next to a restocking bin, and you can just instantly get all 5 back. Or you have your quiver, which will give you all 5 back, which is your ability, by the way. It just gives you your 5 javelins back when it charges up. You can use it. It'll give it to you. It's not a great ability, but it works well for the skirmisher. It would be nice to have a real ability, but, you know, you do what you can. And yeah, honestly, there's not a whole lot to say about it. You do more damage than the other 2 archers, but you have less shots. You throw really slowly. I would say it's harder, and also, you know, arrows can't be blocked, but your javelins can be, like just by a regular sword. Now, what's nice is it'll use up more stamina when people are running at you, but they can just block them, and then by the time they get to you, hopefully they don't have stamina, and you can just stab them to death. There's not a whole lot I can say. It's really not a good class. I had a lot of fun doing it, and I felt rewarded. I will say I felt rewarded, and it was worth playing my archer to level 7 so that I could play my skirmisher. But, yeah. This is my opinions. This is what I have grown to see in my, like, 30-ish hours on Chivalry 2 open beta. This is what I have come up with. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with anything. I appreciate you sticking through to the end of this video, and if you skip to the end just to see the finished result, I still love you because you clicked on my video. And that puts a smile on my chubby face. So yeah, take a screenshot. I'm calling this the definitive tier list for the game. If you disagree, please yell at me. I don't care. I mean, I do care. I care about you, but I don't care about being wrong, is what I mean. So yeah, yell at me. Catch me on Twitch whenever I'm streaming. My Twitch handle is twitch.tv/Quaitson. It's the same as my YouTube name. It's all lowercase though. So yeah. And once again, I appreciate you sticking to the end. There you have it. Your tier list. Play Chivalry 2. It's a great game. It comes out June 8th. Okay. Bye.